Hey friends, thanks so much for stopping by. Today I'm making two different types of trash to treasure projects. My first project is using this old wooden arrow sign that has definitely seen better days. The first thing I need to do is use a piece of sandpaper and sand away all the old chipped paint. I'm painting the front and the back, so I made sure to sand both sides. To cover my sign, I'm using black and white acrylic paint. Once my black base was complete, I then used my white. I'm upcycling my projects today as part of the Using Trash to Create Treasure Challenge. It's being hosted by Casey from Coffee with My Sunshine, and her co-host is Leonette from DIY Beauty on Purpose. Both of these talented women have amazing DIY channels. I'm going to link them below in my description along with the playlist for this challenge. Using my Cricut, I added the word pumpkins to the front of the sign. I found this pretty ribbon for 25 cents, so I'm going to use it to outline the outside edge of my arrow. I'm always so happy when I can recycle something that would have normally ended up in the landfill or the burn pile. By adding a few inexpensive upgrades, I was able to give this arrow sign a whole new life. Once all my ribbon is in place, I'm going to add a fall accent. I'm using some things that I already had on hand, and I'm using some flowers and some pumpkins from the Dollar Tree. When I placed on the lettering, I made sure to leave a little extra space on the end that could accommodate all my accents. Something that I do before I permanently start hot gluing things in place is to actually put them in place ahead of time. I then take a picture of it, and in case I get called away or I forget, I have something to reference back to. Before I added the little bunch of raffia to my sign, I did tie it together with an existing piece just to kind of hold it in place. Once all my pumpkins were in place, I then added a few green leaves that came with the flowers to the sign to accent the fall colors. To finish up, I'm using some ribbon and a piece of floral wire to make a bow. If you follow me, you know this is one of my favorite ribbons to work with. It's 7/8 of an inch, and I've made these bows before. And if you'd like to learn how I made them, I'll link those videos below in my description. Once my loops are complete, I then use my floral wire to bend over the center and twist it together tightly. I then cut off the excess wire and I fold the ends over. Once I'm done making the ribbon, I then kind of just fluff open the loops. Once I'm happy with the way it looks, I then use my glue gun and secure it into place. I was really happy with the way it came out. It definitely has a Halloween vibe to it, and I'm even happier that I was able to keep it out of the landfill. For my second project, I'm making some pumpkins out of vegetable tin cans. I'm using 3 16 by 16 pieces of fabric. The green check is actually a napkin, and the other two are pieces of fabric that I found at the Dollar Tree. I'm using some polyfill and I'm placing it around the can that I centered in the middle of the fabric. I took one corner of the fabric and I placed it inside the can. Then, working my way around, I continued gathering the fabric and placing it inside the can until I had my pumpkin shape. I then used my glue gun and attached the pieces of fabric in place. To give my pumpkins a little weight so they don't tip over, I'm using a handful of these glass beads that I already had, but you can always use some rocks or sand or anything that you have on hand. For my pumpkin stems, I'm using some driftwood. If you follow me, you know I have a huge collection. You can always use a group of stems or some cinnamon sticks or anything, just get creative. For my leaves, I'm using 18 inches of the Dollar Tree burlap ribbon. I'm folding it in half to find the center, then folding each end into the middle, slightly overlapping. I gathered it together and secured it with a piece of floral wire. I then used my hot glue gun and attached it in front of the stem. I'm using 28 inches of jute folded in half to make a simple bow and the pumpkin's tendrils. I wrapped the jute around the back of the stem and under one of the leaves, and then I made my bow. When I was done, I then trimmed off the twine. To give my jute a little twist, I'm using some Mod Podge and some pencils. I dabbed some of the Mod Podge on the pieces of my jute. When I was done, I used a piece of tape to attach the jute to the pencil. I rolled it up and I tucked it under the ribbon leaf to dry. When the jute was dry, I unrolled it from the pencils and I opened the curls. Then using my scissors, I gave it a little trim. I decided to decorate my green pumpkin with some fall accents that I had on hand and also using some of the berries from the Dollar Tree. I'm leaving my black and orange pumpkin plain, but for my green pumpkin, I'm randomly adding berries and the fall accent twigs to the top. Once my green pumpkin was complete, I then made my black pumpkin and my orange. I followed the exact same instructions for both of these pumpkins, with the exception of using the brown mesh tubing from the Dollar Tree. I cut the mesh at 18 inches and tied it onto the pumpkin. This time I rolled the mesh tails first, and then I added my Mod Podge. Once again, after they had dried, I unrolled them from the pencils. I moved everything into place, and when I was happy, I then hot glued the bows to the pumpkin. I love the way my Trash to Treasure pumpkins came out. They were easy and inexpensive to make, and no one will ever guess they have a tin can for a base. Thank you so much for stopping by and hanging out with me, and I hope you had fun making these projects. If you haven't yet subscribed and you think you'd like to come back and hang out with me again, don't forget to click that little red subscribe button below. I'll see you soon. Bye, everybody.